Is the AfD about to make a major breakthrough in Germany? That is the question we're going to be answering in this video. Now, in Germany right now, there's a very important election for a Landrat. That is a position in between a mayor and a governor. It is a district administrator for a local or communal district, and it is occurring right now in the East German state of Thuringia, and is going to a second round between the AfD candidate Robert Sesselmann, seen on the right, and CDU candidate Jürgen Kuppe on the left. Now, the reason this election is important is because it is the first time we have the AfD candidate at a very good position to win outright in the second round. And the reason that this is important, of course, is because the AfD is a very controversial party in Germany. It is isolated from the rest of the political class, and all other parties have worked against them and isolated them and have ruled out any cooperation with the AfD on any level. They consider the AfD to be too right-wing, too extreme for Germany. They consider it to be a threat to the German democratic parliamentary order. And in this state in particular, the AfD in Thuringia with their leader Björn Höcke is considered to be the most right-wing branch of the state. However, they have managed to pull off a very impressive election win in the first round, and you see the blame kind of going around. The governor for the state from the left party blaming the turnout, and you see the CDU blaming the government, vice versa. All the parties of the political establishment are all kind of picking the reasons of why this was able to happen, why the AfD was able to do so well. But nonetheless, all the parties are backing the CDU candidate now. As we see here, the election is going to be between the AfD and the CDU. The AfD candidate, Robert Sesselmann, won an impressive 46.7% of the vote with an 11-point lead in the first round, almost winning an outright majority. The CDU candidate at 35% is backed by the other parties. They are all rallying together behind the CDU to prevent the AfD from winning this position. Now, despite this, the AfD is in such strong position they might even be able to win with all parties going against them. Now, this takes place in a small Landkreis in the district of Sonneberg, down here in the south of the German state of Thuringia. Thuringia is a state of about 2 million people, and the Sonneberg Kreis has about 50,000 people. So, very small district. Of course, that's not what matters. There's very little power here, but this election sets a precedent. And if the AfD can break through here, it is a clear signal, a clear milestone for the party, and they might be able to pull it off in other areas. Now, this part of Germany, of course, in Thuringia, is a very blue part of the country. We see down here the city of Sonneberg voted 30% for the AfD in the 2021 federal election, so clearly a place they do better than on the national or state average, but still, the 46% that Sesselmann got is an improvement from that and a huge, huge win for the party no matter what happens in the second round. Now, I don't want to spend too much time talking about the reasons this happened and the campaign and everything. Now, of course, there's the basics is that there's a lot of anger towards the current German federal government. The AfD has a strong base in this state, and now they're getting a lot of the protest votes. They're seen as one of the main opposition parties, the anti-establishment party. So they're getting a lot of protest votes on top of their base, and that is pushing them to nearly 50%. But there's one race in particular that happened in Germany a few years ago I think we can use to calculate how this election is going to go. And that is the mayoral election for the city of Görlitz. Görlitz is a small to medium-sized East German city in the state of Saxony, where we had a very similar situation. The AfD candidate for mayor, Sebastian Wippel, won the first round with 36% of the vote against the CDU candidate, Octavian Ösu, with 30% in the first round. They together went to a runoff where the Greens and the left backed the CDU candidate who eventually won the election. But what's important to note is that this is a very similar demographic. It is a small East German city where you have a AfD candidate in first place, CDU candidate second place, with a left-wing candidate backing the non-AfD candidate. So the demographics and the situation is almost identical to what we have in Sonneberg, and I've put here a chart to overview the numbers we have Now, in Görlitz, we see the AfD candidate had a 6-point lead in the first round, and in the second round ended up losing by 10 points. So the biggest difference, of course, is that in Sonneberg, the AfD candidate has 46% of the vote, 10 points higher, and has a 11-point lead instead of a 6. Now, another difference is that who the votes are for the third parties. And as you can see, in Görlitz, we have a strong showing for the Green candidate at 28%, whereas in Sonneberg, you have a smaller showing of 13% for a different party, the SPD. Now, these votes are mainly for the candidates. These are not for the parties. These are specifically for candidates. On these kind of elections play out differently than a federal election does, where you're voting for a party. So you can't always assume that the people that are voting for these parties are like the party voters, and because of that, the math is a bit different. However, in general, there is a difference between the Green and SPD voting base, and that is the Greens, when they have a choice between the AfD and the CDU, are going to back the CDU pretty much almost 100%. The SPD, this is very similar. The SPD voters, when they have a choice between the AfD and CDU, are going to overwhelmingly back the CDU. However, it's not going to be close to 100%. It's going to be at least 80, probably around 90%. So this means that in Sonneberg, not only does the AfD have a stronger lead, this means that the CDU has a smaller and weaker voting pool to garner support from for the second round. Now, you can't rule out the fact that the CDU is going to win, because there's going to be obviously a lot of voters that vote in the second round that maybe didn't vote in the first round, especially since this race has garnered a lot of attention from the federal media, federal politicians. There's a lot of energy in this election. Now, it has been brought up to almost a federal election, very important race. So I see it being very close. I see it being a very, very tight race. But I think the AfD will end up winning in the end. And my logic is, if the AfD can go from 36% to 45% in Görlitz, with 46%, they should be able to cross over the 50% mark. Now, that's not certain, like I said, but I think that is what's likely to happen, especially with the difference in the Green and SPD vote. But like I said, there's no way to tell exactly. There's ways you could calculate this to get it very accurate, but every election is different. There's a lot of dynamics going along, and so it's very hard to calculate exactly how this race is going to go, and I don't want to do that. But I do want to make a prediction. This is going to be our first public prediction for this channel about this election. I think in the end, the AfD candidate, Robert Sesselman, will win the election with around 50.5% against the CDU candidate with 49.5%. This is not a number that I have exactly calculated out. This is more of a gut feeling I have based off of the election in Görlitz. I see how this went, and I don't see how the AfD candidate can win by a lot, but I don't really see how the CDU candidate is favorable in this position. I think if the AfD is able to repeat the same result, go from 36 to 45, they should be able to go from 46 to above 50. But like I said, it's not for sure. This election will happen in a few days. I think the AfD candidate will win by around a point. That is going to be my prediction, but we will see. And once the election happens on Sunday, I will make a video comparing the results to my prediction. We will analyze the election, and nonetheless, whatever happens, it is a big deal, because even if the AfD doesn't win, they got very close. It is a big victory for them, and if they do win, it is definitely breaking a huge precedent. The AfD will get power. It won't be much power. It'll be a small communal district. However, this will be the first time they've broken through the wall. They have pierced this alliance of parties against them, and that will be a shock to the political establishment, to the media, to large sections of Germany, and that will be a clear signal to the federal government that there are a lot of problems in the country and a lot of voters are turning against them. But like I said, we will see once we get the actual results. So I thank you all for watching. This is going to be the end of this video, and if you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe and share with anyone you know who's interested in these issues. And this is one I wanted to do because there's not really any elections going on in Germany, so this is interesting to look at. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video.